gonna play my theme song?
No.
They give you a walk-up song again, finally?
Yeah. Okay, we're going to call meeting to order. It's Wednesday, July 10th, 2019. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. I'm going to introduce before we even start. This is Taylor Gibbs. He's Blaine Luchtemeyer's new right-hand man. So whenever you need anything, you just go to him and you'll have the check.
Come grab my card if you really don't need to touch it.
Yeah.
Cards there.
But anyway, welcome.
Thanks, Andy.
Okay, minutes and reports received and filed.
The June 2019 sheriff fees filed and June 2019 treasurer's reconciliation report filed.
Okay. Commissioner Committee Liaison Reports, upcoming meetings and events.
Solid Waste Management District Board meeting this afternoon. Chiefs Association meeting scheduled for Thursday. You have a July meeting, Bill? Ernie's not even in here. Renegades Coffee Friday, I think Chamber of Commerce Friday coffee.
Where's the Renegades Coffee at, Jeff?
Oscars, wait, we're not supposed to, that's secret.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Not anymore.
That was in Fight Club, don't discuss Fight Club.
Fight Club.
Yeah, that Oscars at 7 a.m. So you did radio today, so we don't have it Friday.
No, we don't.
Okay, so that's pretty much, I can take that off my recurring calendar. Are they changing it up, or you just changed it?
I don't know, he just,
No, I talked to John, because I did it Friday and I did it yesterday and then Chris did it. I think they've heard enough of us. So he said we don't need to, we're done for the month.
All right, quarterly reports are due on Monday too, so don't forget that. You can go to the ethics jail. That's about it. Or Renegades games, there's Renegades games just about every night till then. So, you're not gonna catch one of them. But you can or can't bring your dogs to the park, I'm not sure what the rule is, so.
oh yeah.
Yeah, they told them they couldn't one time, then they have dog days of summer the next night and bring your pet, and so it's been kind of interesting.
So I'm meeting with a guy on economic development today at 12:30. I've got a meeting at 2 o'clock today with Central Missouri Professional Services to try to finalize our landscaping and sidewalk plan. That's kind of preliminary, but anyway, hopefully we'll have that ready to go out for bid by the end of the week. Thought salute went well. I did talk on stage about the Rave Smart 911 system, and so obviously we need to continue to try to push this and get this out. But Bill said he handed out about 500 of these at salute, and so hopefully we'll go again at the fair, and obviously if everybody can help, we'll make people safer. So
Yep, it's free. So it's up and going.
yeah, it's up and going. It's
I haven't really seen anything about it.
yeah.
So
So
we gotta do something better then, 'cause I haven't even seen anything.
yeah, so it's an app. Go to the app store and download the app, and you can kind of customize it to whatever you want to see. So, but
And probably we can talk to Jeff
Yeah.
and get the News Tribune, do an article, if we could.
yep. So
Yeah, yeah.
that's all I got.
Okay. Tomorrow we got Traffic Safety Advisory Board meeting, right, Larry? Tra- Yeah, and then I'm not gonna be at the Chiefs meeting because I have the Samaritan Center Gala. And Friday is Cap Region Building Committee. Sunday is St. Martin's Picnic. Monday, I've got a meeting with Governor Parson at 1:30, and then we're gonna go before the city council Monday night and talk up the ball game. Tuesday morning before commission, I got Cap Region Credentials Committee meeting, so that's all I got. Okay, we're gonna shift around a little bit because Debbie has to leave at 10. So we were gonna have David Bangy. You can wait, and we're gonna go to a discussion of HR consulting agreement. He's just sitting. He's- yeah.
So as you know, we bid those out and we,
This is, so this is Debbie, do you have a handbook?
yeah,
I've got to choose services.
yeah. No, you know, we bid this out and, those say services at the top.
Oh, they do, okay,
Yeah.
never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. We bid this out, we interviewed this one
Oh, yeah,
group.
that's handbook,
They are the Moore
and that's-
Source, and they are out of Columbia, Missouri. And the recommendation from the committee was to go with two different agreements. One for an hourly rate not to exceed 15,000 annually, and another one just to do the handbook. And that would range anywhere from 5,600 to 7,600. So that was our recommendation, is go ahead and sign contracts with both of these. And then we'll send information out to the department heads how, you know, we want to kind of control access to them. So either through me or Jill to get to them. So we'd like to recommend going with More Source.
Well, for
For
the
both.
actual, doing the book itself,
Mhm.
I think that one, that was a very reasonable price. And then the other one for the services per hour, whatever, we need to set that up where, I guess the request comes through all of us or whatever, but that one person's handling the questions like you said, so probably put that on Jill's. If Jill doesn't have the answer, then we can maybe go check with them.
Well, and mine would be more, I mean, for legal consultation too.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
what all this would be to
kinda
me, it seems
different.
like legal stuff, keep us out of trouble with HR.
Well, and especially if something comes out of it that we need to change something in the manual because of the discussion or whatever we have with, on that hourly basis, you know.
So is it just kind of an approval to get, for them to get to More Source through you and Jill based on a certain topic, and then maybe they may have to have one-on-one conversations or?
We can do that, you know, if that needs to be further, yes.
Right.
I guess it's just kind of a referral process through Debbie.
Right.
I mean,
I just don't want it to be secondhand, thirdhand information or whatever, and then
Right.
it just, you
No,
know.
if a conference call is needed or
Okay.
something is needed to more explain so they can make their decision based on all the facts, yes, but that will happen.
And this was, this was 15,000 for the remainder of the year, right?
It says annually, so it's just gonna run from July of this year till July of next year,
Okay,
so.
but we, so obviously budget will be, we'll start getting into that in November, so probably have a lot of stuff going on for the first 3 months or whatever, that we may have a better idea of how much we're gonna utilize this.
Yeah, I'd say from now to the end of the year, we'll- yeah.
Okay.
We do have money in the budget for both of these this year,
we do have that upfront payment on the service.
yes. Mhm. Which I would cut, I haven't done anything, but we will cut that. The first one, I think, yeah, due upon signing is the 1,520 on the manual itself. So, and on the other one is 950 up front.
Is that gonna cover, I mean, John, you all have your own handbook,
We have one policy and procedure.
aside from ours, so is this just ours, and then is John? gonna
Ours
be able to-
usually, we do not, like you're the vacation policy that the commission has, I don't have one that would be against that. So mine is mostly over.
Yeah, but I'm thinking about other things like, with health, HIPAA stuff that we need to have in there that doesn't apply to the general. So is this gonna be just in general, or will they do stuff to help Christie, or is that gonna be part of the $95 an hour?
What, yeah, that will probably, if they wanna change their manual, what they're gonna do is make one manual for us, and then they're gonna make sure the other departments' manuals don't conflict with it.
There you go.
They're gonna make sure that happens, but as far as any additional stuff they may want or need in their manual and they want consulting on, then yes, that would probably go to the
I
$95.
just wanted to make sure we're paying for this resource, that they have access to it too, to clarify their stuff too,
Yeah.
because the HIPAA and stuff like that's different.
But yeah, they are supposed to make sure there's nothing conflicting between those manuals.
Good. I'm gonna
Yep.
do this in two motions and move that we approve the MoreSource agreement, approve and sign the MoreSource agreement for the personnel handbook.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. And I move that we approve and sign the MoreSource agreement for consulting services.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then just for the department heads that are here, be ready when they do ask for information or they want you to review something that's in the manual. We kind of do it on a timely basis so we can get that wrapped up and done as soon
You
as we
didn't say
can.
that.
I want to make sure you know
Now you
that.
did it after we passed it.
Yeah.
Now we gotta do timely and no
Yeah.
conflicts.
Yeah.
You better move on.
Okay.
And before I leave, I want to introduce Jessica Bryant. She's our new purchasing agent, and you'll be working with her
Hi,
from the
Jessica.
different departments, so.
Welcome to the jungle.
And the people I was telling Taylor, why, you do the same.
All right, I think I'm done.
Thank you, Debbie.
Okay,
Thank
thanks,
you,
Debbie.
Debbie. And I want to introduce Carrie too. Taylor's boss just slipped in, so Bill, if you need a check tomorrow from the feds, you just go see Carrie.
Very well.
Yeah, you just go see her and you'll have the check. Okay, presentation from invited guests. I see David every Sunday after church at breakfast, and I told him, I said, maybe quarterly, come give us a report on city-county joint projects. So he's kind enough to come in today. Thank you very much.
So, there's kind of four things that we're working together on. The first of those, of course, I think is actually a project that you guys are heading up. And so that's the Morris Packaging Rail Spur extension. And so you all hold the contract on that one. In talking with Eric, it appears that with some of the flooding, et cetera, that these guys are busy repairing railroad tracks here, there, and yon. And so it looks like that project is getting held off until they get some of those other repairs done on other major road or railways. So the interesting, and a little wrinkle in that is I've been talking with Eric about the possibility of there being a change order to that contract to look at the repair of the crossing of Militia Drive. And so it appears that the railroad ties under that crossing have rotted out, and so now those concrete panels are basically rocking all over the place as cars and trucks drive over them. And so we're looking to get a number from the contractor to see what that would cost us. Of course, that crossing, as I understand it, is the city's, so that'd be something that we'd be looking at trying to repair, since they're right there on site. So that's kind of a wrinkle in that project. But I think Eric kind of indicated that perhaps sometime in later August or September might be the time when that thing actually gets constructed. The other project that's underway, of course, is Dunklin Street. And so that project schedule is a little bit different from what we'd originally anticipated. Originally, we had planned on working on the 400 block first, which is down by Warehouse Tire, McKnight Tire, M&M Transmission, and then working our way up the hill. But unfortunately, the water came up. We did get the sewer line installed in that block before the water came up. But then we were basically forced up the hill, and we're working in the 300 block. And so probably by the end of the week, we'll have all the curbs poured for that section. And they're actually starting to work on some of the sidewalks. Meyer Electric is up at the intersection. They have all the bases poured for the main overhead mast arm signal poles, working on some of the PED poles right now. And so those things are all going on. So really, probably within about 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to have that portion of the project basically pretty well completed. So then, depending on where the water is in 3 weeks, kind of really depends on the next steps. So what's really holding us up from moving ahead, certainly the water is off the road. I think it's about 7 feet down from the road now, but the big issue is trying to put in some stormwater pipes basically from the creek going up to Mulberry. And so in order to get those in, we need the creek to be pretty darn low because that's where the pipes start. And so we can't have to start at the bottom, otherwise, it just really won't work. So hopefully the water will go down. If not, we have some ability to do a little bit of work under the overpasses the MoDOT overpasses are gonna be some little retaining walls so that we can put the sidewalks in there. There's a little piece of sewer on the Missouri Boulevard side that we could work on. But really, if the water doesn't go down, we're gonna be really hunting for something to do in about 2 weeks' time. So we'll have to see how that all works out. The East High Street project, we're still working on that. Got a little distracted with some of the tornado stuff, some efforts, but ultimately we're still shooting to have that bid as we had thought in October. And so that project is still on track to hit that target. And so I don't really have a ton to say about that, but we are going to be looking at redoing our sewer system underneath the majority of that project. And then the rest is as we've described with the retaining walls and approaches and trying to shift around the utility poles. And so then the other project that we actually don't have an agreement together yet, but was listed on the sales tax project, was the Clark and Dunklin area. And so we had done a traffic study there, looking at the possibilities of what sort of traffic control would work best, and ultimately had confirmed what the EIS study had said regarding the entrance ramps on and off the highway, basically six-legged roundabouts. And that really was driven by the fact that MoDOT was hesitant or didn't want to see any of the access cut off to either Elm or Miller Streets. And so really it kind of forced you into that decision, because a lot of the stuff wouldn't work. Potentially, the traffic study said that traffic signals would work there, but we are pretty hesitant to go down that route, simply because we have that situation in other places, such as over at Ellis Boulevard, and there's a lot of congestion there because those signals and outer roads are so closely spaced. So, but we're kind of leaving that till MoDOT, for MoDOT to participate in, and so we're really just focused at Clark and Dunklin. And the council this past Monday Monday before last, signed an agreement with Bartlett and West to begin the design of a roundabout at Clark and Dunklin. So ultimately, at some point, we'll probably be up here with a discussion of entering an agreement with you all for that project. We don't really look or anticipate the construction of that until 2022. So that's kind of a little bit further out on the horizon than the others, but we are working on it. So that's kind of what I know.
So we really can't say when Dunklin will be open, because a
No,
lot
we-
depends on the flooding.
Right, we really can't. I mean, the contract had a completion date of November the 27th, which would have been the day before Thanksgiving. If we're able to get back to work in earnest in 3 weeks' time, then it'll probably we can still make that happen. If we get beyond that, then it's starting to get a little bit iffy. Of course, the contractor, is very anxious for it not to go longer than that, because even if even saying that the contract ends on November the 27th, really, you can only hope for about 2 more weeks of potential good weather to do anything after that, and they certainly don't want to try to carry the thing through the winter. So we'll just have to hope that the water goes down.
And we're still on budget, right?
Correct. Yeah, there hasn't been any change orders on that project at all.
Okay.
So
Okay.
High Street, you said we'll bid October, November, possibly?
yeah, the plan is to have it bid in October. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the biggest one I was listening for.
Yeah.
I know the roundabout, there's been some concerns, and I get to push that off and say, well, that's a city design, so I forward it to you all. But,
Yeah.
is that gonna be a roundabout within a roundabout like Stadium and Jefferson, or is that gonna be just a singular? like Stadium?
For the moment, it appears it's just going to be a single lane roundabout, sort of in the same nature as Tanner Bridge and Ellis or Stadium and Leslie.
Because that's still not a big problem at Elm Street.
Right, it doesn't address that problem. And so really what we are trying to address with the traffic study was, is there any interconnection between the interchange and Dunklin that we need to be concerned about? Does one affect the other or not? And the answer to that question was no. one of the options that they actually explored was the possibility of building a roundabout on the northern side of the highway and then not doing anything at Elm Street, on the southern side, but instead build the roundabout at Dunklin and Clark. And essentially, someone would have to, if they were coming from town trying to get out to the state office buildings on Elm, would come up the ramp, back down Clark, through the roundabout, and then back over to Elm Street. Ultimately, that was sort of taken off the table simply because we thought it would probably be a little bit create a situation that people weren't really familiar with, and it would force people to go a block out of their way, which might not be well received. So, but it would work from a traffic standpoint, but we weren't certain that it would be well accepted.
I don't know if roundabouts are well accepted yet.
Really, they work very well. I've had more complaints
don't
though
mind 'em.
about the Dunklin and Clark. They think that's stupid, and I'm like, I don't know. It's
Well, I mean, it's certainly going to be, it's going to make a change. It's certainly going to work. It's going to work. The volumes are such that the roundabout there will work. Unless something absolutely major changes in that whole area, which doesn't seem likely because it's all built out already. And there have been some accidents there, that aren't really explained very well. There are some pedestrian accidents there, and so, a roundabout, in that it forces you to pay a little bit more attention, is going to make that pedestrian movement safer. And so, I think there's some benefits there to doing it. So, but it's gonna take some effort to get it squeezed in there. So.
Anything else?
Thank you. I
Thanks,
I
David.
appreciate
Very
it,
good.
David.
You
I
betcha.
just, maybe about once
Sure.
every 3 months.
Yeah, I mean, if
Let's
we wanted
just-
to,
let's just
if we get
stay-
closer to the East McCarty bidding or something and
Yeah.
want to talk about that a little bit, I'd be happy
Yeah.
to come up and, hopefully we'll have some good news on Dunklin here pretty soon too, so.
Yep.
All
Okay.
right.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Yep,
See you Sunday.
you betcha.
And if you need money for that roundabout there now, Carrie can get it for you.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I'll do
Okay. Bids and contracts. Approval and signing of WIC contract amendment from MODHS.
Hello.
Yes.
There was a very specific line in the WIC contract this year for funding for staff to go to the state WIC conference. It just happened to be the week that we were moving, so staff didn't go. So they sent us an amendment to take back that, I think it was like $1,739 because our staff didn't travel. So this is just the amendment to the contract for that.
Okay.
I move that we sign the WIC contract amendment with Missouri DHSS.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Approval and signing of declaration of Mo Health Net for Women's Health Services.
This is a declaration that we have to sign, I think, every year, basically saying that our facility does not have any programs to deal with abortion, and we have to sign this to make sure that we can still bill Mo Health Net for the services that we do perform.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
I move that we sign the declaration to Missouri Health Net for Women's Health Services.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Unfinished business. Approval of Cole County purchasing policies.
So we've talked about this multiple times. I think we finally have language in there for the conflict of interest. Did you guys have any other questions?
I'm fine with it.
I think I just need approval in the minutes to accept the purchasing policies.
Okay.
What was it changed to?
We change the amount to $25 or that's.
So it's exactly the federal language, but you can accept a gift up to $25. And there's a copy of those.
I move that we approve the county purchasing policies.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is that all
Okay.
you needed?
Yeah, that's all I needed.
Okay.
Helps too easy.
Are you gonna do the accounts
Yeah,
payable?
there are
review?
no accounts payable today.
Gosh. Okay.
Pretrial staff.
Pardon?
Pretrial staff.
Yep. Additional staff for pre-trial services. Richard?
Yes, sir. Morning.
Good morning, how are you, Jim?
Thank you.
Threw this together for you guys.
Haven't worked out that giddy up yet.
Still working on the giddy. The last time we met, I had talked with you guys briefly about maybe coming back and asking for additional staff. Since the first of the year, we've been averaging over 118 defendants on the pretrial program. The number of reports have increased significantly, and when I'm talking about reports, I'm talking about reports to the court. And also, we do because these people report to us and we supervise them, we have 120 people a lot of times coming into our office each week that we do updated log reports on their supervision. I had initially wanted to wait to ask for the position to see if this was just a transitional bump or if the numbers would continue to increase, and we have continued to increase. With the present staff, we have a caseload of over 50 defendants for the 2 part-time positions and 15 to 20 for the part-time. With the additional reports, supervision numbers, and the increase in the number of jail reports we're doing, it's significant. The courts are utilizing the electronic monitoring program, and to date, we're supervising an average of 20 defendants daily on electronic monitoring, and that is a 24/7 operation, 7 days a week. Butch Shipley or myself, one of us, carry a phone with us 24/7, so we're in contact or know what's going on with the monitoring of these people. This month, we're going to lose one of our full-time persons for a medical procedure, and he will be out 4 to 6 weeks. In addition, somewhere down the road are going to have to do the same thing. And with vacations, normal time planned off, it's just a staffing problem. The first thing I want to look at is attachment 1. If you guys will take a look at that. I kind of went over and I looked at the jail and PTS yearly report and brought the statistics up on 2019. As you can see, the daily population, the increase from 18 to 19 is so far as 1 individual more in the population, and actually the 7 a.m. population has decreased. So we have more coming in during the day, but we are housing less over that period. A lot of, I think, is due to what the pretrial committee and what we did and what Sheriff Wheeler and also Chief Schrader on the summonses of issuing the summonses. A lot of these people are being booked and released. As you can see, our booking average has been reduced. That's a cost savings right there. It costs about $100, over $100 to book someone into the jail. So as you can see, we're decreasing that number. So that's a cost savings for that. Our release numbers are also decreasing because we're not taking as many in. The out-of-county holds, we're projecting that this year we're going to be an average of 2 less. So far, our federal holds have increased by 8.6 person per month. And our county population has a decrease over the year of 549. Pretrial, we're increasing at 4.3. Our termination is increasing, which is good, and we're getting a closer number to people coming in and people going out, which is what we need. And then also the reports, a slight increase, and the daily average, a significant increase. If you look from 2016 to 2019, we have doubled in our population. and with the same staff. So what I'm asking you guys to look at is this report and see that we do have a significant increase in what we're doing. I think if you look at those numbers, you can see the other thing I did was just a snapshot of the jail population as of July 7th. That population, you can see we have 52 federal, 62 county, 7 probation and parole, 5 from other counties. Jefferson City PD is 11, 2 sentenced, 4 on furlough, which actually means they're not in our jail, they're being in a treatment facility someplace else. And then we had 5 came in that were booked and released, which is that reduction of that population of the overnight stay. I think if you look at the pretrial program and the management of the jail population, the 120, if we put those back into the jail, that would raise your county population up to 180. Then you would be looking at purchasing beds or building on that facility at a cost of several $1 million. I believe if the county continues down the path of jail management, the need to build that second floor on that jail will not be needed for several years. Right now, the county has a surplus of beds and can control the population by adjusting the amount of beds that we are selling to the feds and to the state. So you have that cushion of reducing that if you do have an increase in the county population. But we've been pretty consistent over the past 5 years on our population as far as people coming in, people going out. Attachment B is a thing that I did at the request when we went through the process of looking at trying to get reimbursement for the pretrial program. You guys may remember that last year, and we went to a county down at the state. The counties had a meeting down there about that proposal and a big discussion. And some numbers kind of jumped out at me when I prepared this document for the Department of Corrections. So they were looking at how this was going to affect the state. I'm probably the only guy that did this in the whole state, but I think if you look at this, it's significant. From 2014 to 2018, over in the first column, that's the number of defendants sentenced out of Cole County to the Department of Corrections. And if you look from 14 to 15, there is a big reduction in the number of people that are going to prison out of Cole County. The other thing I think is interesting is the jail days billed. If you look at those numbers from like 14 to 18, there's only a 5,000 difference, but yet there's almost 200 people different that went to prison in 14 as opposed to 18. What that tells me in my looking at this is the people that we have in jail are the people that need to be in jail. They're risk people. That's why you have that number is not as significant. And if you look at the amount billed to the state, you can see that, that number in a 4-year time period, we're starting to see a decrease in that number. The other thing I think is interesting is you look at just the few people that were on the pretrial program that went to the Department of Corrections. And basically over that period of time, 10% of the people that we had on pretrial went to prison. But the amount of bed dates that saved, 20,129 bed dates were saved, and the cost saved to the state was almost $400,000. That's cost that you can look at and say, at $19 a day, I believe you can say was saved to Cole County. And that's just a fraction of the people that we supervise. So if you take that one step farther in looking at this, you can look at that population and look at what we have done. over that time period, and I believe it gives you an idea. If you look at that and look at the $19 a day, then the number of bed dates saved since the start of this program is 138,581 bed dates. At $19 a day is over $2.6 million. If you add the state and federal payments, they basically, we have billed out to the states and to the feds over $6 million. If you take that figure plus this figure of the amount saved, that's over $9 million that has been realized, I believe, in not only income coming into this county, but also savings from the pretrial release program. All that being said, I just wanted to bring that up because I think if you look at what the program has accomplished over these 5 years, it has been beneficial to the management of the jail and the costs to the taxpayers. What I'm asking, and the proposal is there, is to bring Randy Cole onto a full-time position, and basically all this transition is in-house except for adding a secretarial person. We moved Mary Ann, who has been there, up to a deputy circuit marshal, and basically adjust Randy and Butch's salaries based upon when we moved Butch to a full-time position, we basically reduced his salary, which he was making $20 an hour, and when we moved him to a full-time position, we reduced his salary, unbeknownst to us. We just took a number, and that was a mistake. So what I'm asking is, based upon the quality of these people, I mean, these guys have all got 40 years of law enforcement experience. I think they're part of their assessment, not only the assessment tool we use, but their view of these people is key to the success in what we've had in this program of changing who the number of people we're sending to prison and using the resources we have in the county. I'd like to move Mary Ann from the administrative assistant position into the part-time pretrial position. The whole purpose behind this is that she's trained. I can use her immediately. There's no downtime in trying to train someone new into that position, and then to hire a new administrative assistant. And the cost is there of what we're talking about.
So you already have an administrative assistant, you just want to move them to a different position.
Correct.
You already have a part-time and you're wanting to keep that part-timer, but moving somebody else to that position, that after all is said and done, you're wanting to add a full-time position.
That's correct.
Okay. I was connecting dots up here, now I'm coloring it in, so it's starting to make sense. Well, because we've got, in the budget, we got one case manager, one case manager, two.
So you have 2 full-time positions and 2 part-time positions currently.
Okay, so I don't even have that on here, but you have 2 part-time, you said?
Yeah, you have a part-time case manager, and then you have a part-time administrative assistant.
Oh, okay, so is the administrative assistant gonna go from part-time to full-time, is what you're proposing?
The part-time case manager position would go to full-time. The administrative assistant would go to the part-time position. So the position I would be filling, basically moving everyone up, or adding a slot and moving my part-time person up to the full-time and my administrative to the part-time marshal position, would be adding a new administrative assistant. That would be the position I would hire for.
Okay. I wouldn't follow exactly how Butch's salary got. How do we pay him?
The starting salary that was set for that position was $40,000.
Exactly.
But did he go from being an employee to a contractor?
No, he was a part-timer making $20 an hour.
And no benefits.
And no benefits, and then whenever you took him to full-time, you set the salary at 40,000 with benefits.
Which is just a little less than full-time, but
Yeah, I mean, the other part of this is none of these guys are gonna be taking your health care. I mean, they've already got their health care, so there is that.
But if they leave and we have to replace them, then somebody could potentially take the health care, so it
Correct.
still needs to be considered.
Sure.
I mean, it all makes sense, but I'd just rather do this all at budget time. As far as the salary one, the 40,000 and asking for the increase to 45, that's kind of the same place we are with the grid. But the numbers, I mean, the numbers are all there, justify doing this at budget time. And that's when I'd prefer to look at it. I'm just one though, so I don't know where y'all are at on it.
I think you are saving us a lot of money.
But the savings really aren't reflected in Richard's numbers because he's just giving you what the state would reimburse us for.
Yeah,
He's not giving us what our actual costs are.
yeah.
So when we save a jail bed date in the county jail, it's more like $45, $50, $60 a day. So,
The state's not paying.
well, I mean, if we get reimbursed, it's at 19, but it doesn't matter what our cost is over there. Or our cost if we have to put them somewhere else in another jail or whatever, you know, and you've got rates worked out there at maybe $45 or $50 a day to pay them. So, I mean, that's where everybody.
I don't disagree that it's saving us a ton of money. I think
Mhm.
we're
Right.
doing a great job with it.
Right.
I appreciate that.
I mean, that's across the county, and I got other elected officials and departments that want more money and more positions too, and just to be consistent, I'm gonna give you the same answer, is I think it's a budget thing. I don't think that you're out to close up shop if we don't give you another person right now. I mean, administrative assistant, just, you know, changing that to full-time would probably help with all the paperwork that y'all are having to do right now.
Well, and I think that's the real issue is we've been running so skinny as far as staff. Once I lose one, I'm in trouble. And probably what we're talking is we'll have to cap or reduce the number we're doing.
Yeah, and if we gotta do that till the end of the year, till budget cycle of 2020, I mean, that's just something we've gotta do, I would
Right.
think, but, I mean, we got a lot of roads that need a bunch of work, especially after these floods and stuff, but we can only do so much with what we have till next year. Or even the sales tax is a 5-year cycle, so we can only do so much in that 5-year cycle. We have to put a limit on what we're gonna do. So even though it is saving us money,
Can you literally limp along until a 2020 budget, or is it?
Well, we're
is
gonna
it-
do
are
what
in
we have to
dire-
do. I mean, you
Yeah.
know, it's like you said, it's not gonna shut this program down. But I think what we're seeing is with all these changes coming in, a significant change in how law enforcement and incarceration is going to occur. I would tell you probably we're the flagship in the state as far as other people looking at what we're doing.
I think so, I've heard that too.
Yeah, well, when we were down at Tantera, you knew more about the program than the presenters did. So, yes, I agree. You are leading the state.
And so to take a step back now, I mean, is I think what we want to show, and that's just in my view, that this works and it needs to be expanded to other jurisdictions. You know, that the cost savings is really there. And that's what I thought was interesting in that attachment B is that's a significant reduction. And the state didn't realize it because they stopped the money.
Because they
And-
know we're still gonna do it.
I'm sorry?
Because they know we're still gonna do it.
Well, yeah, I mean, for us, but this could be a cost savings statewide, a significant cost savings statewide in the amount of money that they're reimbursing, which would mean for the prisoners that you do have, that you do need to keep locked up, that money could go to them. And, I mean, I think this is it's simple plan. I think it goes directly to what we need to do to continue with what we're doing and providing the service we're providing. I think if you look at this, if we do increase the jail population, I would say John's gonna have to adjust the federal prisoners. So that's lost income to you at that point. Because he's got a max on that jail too. I mean, he's got a number that he has to keep it at, and if we keep more in there at our level on county prisoners, then there's less federal prisoners he can hold. That's the way he adjusts his jail population.
What's the federal reimbursement rate?
Right now, 74.
So, I mean, to me, this is different because if they decrease their workload and they put more county people back in the jail and they reduce the federals by 5 people for the rest of the year, you're gonna expend more money. You're gonna lose money from the feds. You're gonna lose more than this would cost.
I'll just play devil's advocate, because I don't normally like to argue, but.
You're funny today.
Nothing guarantees that we're gonna have one federal prisoner or 14 or 20. So, I'm looking at it just purely as, we're not having to keep them in the jail and take care of them. It's saving us that much money. And I agree with you. The state should be saying, look, we'll reimburse you to take care of these guys and keep them on watch and stuff, so.
So the state's not reimbursing us, so we need to be realistic. They owe us over $300,000 right now, that's of April. So we need to be realistic. The cost that I'm getting on those federal prisoners, Richard Lee made the statement that it's income, and it's not income. You can't think of it as income. It's offsetting costs that I have. So if I bring in $1.5 million, then that helps offset costs. Right now, the salary line, if I had everybody, my salary line is $1.5 million. That's if I have 10 people in jail or if I have 155 in jail. So by having those federal prisoners come in and I get $1.5 million, it offsets those costs, because if I didn't have that federal money, then general revenue, or I'd have to pull from contingency, would have to pay that fund. So we need to get out of the misunderstanding. We need to get out of this idea that I've got a room down in the basement and I'm stacking up $20 bills, because that's not what I'm doing. If you look at our budget, you'll see at the bottom that we're zeroed out. So if you say we're going to reduce the federal prisoners, and we're keeping as many as we can, but if I reduce them by 10, well, if that reduces my revenue, then I got to reduce my expenditures too. So I understand what Richard Lee's saying, but we have to look at the big picture, and I agree with what you're saying. You can't guarantee every time that we're going to have the federal prisoners. But we do have to look at the way the state is acting. They passed the laws recently that Class C felony, you don't even go to prison for it now. It goes to the county jail for up to a year. So they're already moving towards where local jails are going to have to be taking the brunt of all of jail services. That's happening. Where they're looking more and more at regional jails. So we need to look at the horizon, and not just today, and think about, whenever he made the statement, we don't need to build out the jail right now. That's probably a true statement. But we should go ahead and press forward with the study, so we know exactly how much money it's going to cost to build that, so we know what it looks like, because then I can have manning. I can know what our staffing is going to be. But to sit and say that, specifically me, that I'm making money from the federal prisoners, in a sense, I guess I am. I'm increasing my revenue, but it's also money that is not having to come from general welfare contingency. So we need to keep this in mind. I understand the day-to-day operations, but we need to keep our eye on the horizon. And I'm worried about two things. One is I'm worried about federal prisoners going away, because that changes all the time. And I'm worried about Supreme Court decisions that sometimes are ambiguous at best, but that are changing things. It's not coming from legislators, it's coming from the Supreme Court. So I'm concerned about that. So there's a lot of things that is concerning me and other sheriffs about the new program that they're doing about releasing people from prison. There's concerns across the state on how that's going to affect public safety. So I think when you talk about, I don't have a problem with that and $2, you get a cup of coffee, but I don't have a problem with him getting more personnel for the core programs, because I think that he does do a good job, and they do have a function with the judges. But I also think we need to keep in mind the big picture, not just look at this year, but we got to look at down the road. We got to keep our eye on the horizon. That's all I have.
I bet you still have more.
I do, but I'll keep it to myself.
Well, I don't even like looking at the federal prisoner part of it. That's kind of, I don't know, at least we know we're getting paid when we house them. When the state, you don't know if you're going to get paid.
Well, that's going to go away, and here's what's going to happen. Whenever that goes away, because I was just up at the Capitol yesterday talking about this. When that goes away, you're going to see the smaller counties shutting down, right? And the problem is, right now, Greene County was looking to put prisoners in Pemiscot County 5 hours away because they're out of space. You start shutting down these little jails, then space is even going to get more of a premium. And the thing to remember is, even if I run out of space completely and I have to send mine back to Sedalia, I still got to pay for those prisoners, and then I got to go get them and bring them back. So if the trend keeps up the way it is, you're going to see a reduction of beds for the jails for county prisoners. You're going to see a reduction in that, and then therefore the price is going to go up. So.
Well, and then it becomes unaffordable, and pretrial becomes even more important because we got to kick more people out.
Well, I think if you look at the population, you got 62 county prisoners. That's a 180-man jail. If the feds go away tomorrow, you got 62 county prisoners. That's all you got.
But the difference is, I'm getting 1.5 from that's paying those.
I understand, but again, it goes back to your point of how much is it going to cost you to house 62 federal prisoners? How many pods are you going to have open? What are you going to shut down? I mean, you know, that's the other point of this, is I think you can't lose that thought of, with the federal prisoners, the mental health prisoner beds, the few of those you have.
It's gone.
Okay, is that done? Those beds, you know, you're getting money for them today. But even if you're looking at the future, 62 county prisoners is where you're at. You got a lot of growth space there. A lot. So I think that the Fed, I mean, in my view, I think somewhere down the road, yes, the feds are going to go, God, we're spending a lot of money housing prisoners that we don't need to spend on all these drug cases that they sent people to 70 years for having a 20 pounds of cocaine or something. You know, they're gonna say, what are we doing here? But we're not there yet, and the money's there, and each year we increase. In 2015, we had 39 federal prisoners. 2019, we're averaging 71.
I think we're all in agreement that it costs us less to have somebody on pretrial release and to watch them as it does to jail.
Yep.
So I don't think there's any disagreement on that. And I agree, I like the program. I'm just gonna stick with the grid and the positions. So I'd rather do this at budget time if we're gonna add staffing and change salaries. That's when I prefer to do it, if it's not going to shut down your program. And if we have to cut down or limit the number that we do, we got 6 more months.
Yeah, I don't want to go backwards though, Jeff.
Not going backwards, just
Well, but if
maintain. So,
If
Well-
you do decide to do this now, it's coming out of general fund, or are you taking it out of contingency? Because there's no fees coming
taking
into
out the money
general.
John's saving.
That money's not coming into general fund though.
We'll just take some more of it.
It's
It's not John's money anyway.
I
It's
disagree
county
with
money.
this.
I asked you before, is it imperative, Richard, that we do this now, or can we limp along until 2020?
I'd lose Butch for 4 to 6 weeks. My only other full-time person, I lose him for 4 to 6 weeks, and that's coming up next week.
Can you increase Nicole's hours during that 4 to 6 weeks?
Well, again, he's part-time, so I don't know how that affects, how we do things. I mean, I'd love to do that. I'd love to have Mary Ann, even if I could, if I, technically what I'd love to do is do without the administrative position and limp along without them. But how do I move Mary Ann to a position of more responsibility and not up her pay?
That's different than adding a position at this point. That's covering for somebody that's gonna be gone, correct?
Correct.
Butch, that's gonna be on.
Yeah, and then is this just for that period of time, or is this something we can realize till the end of the year?
Yeah, I mean, we need to look at that, having people there to be able to administer the program while he's gone. I mean, you do have limited staff, but that's a different story, and it would just be something temporary, even if it is hiring an administrative assistant part-time, and then taking your part-time admin assistant and letting them fill in as a case manager.
So,
I mean, I'm willing to look at that part of it.
so if we would increase Randy to full-time at his present $20 an hour. That's his present rate he's making right now. And then moving Mary Ann into a part-time position and paying her at 18, because basically I'm changing her job description from administrative to a circuit marshal. Is that something you all would consider then, and then we just do without the administrative assistant until the budget time?
I mean, I'm good with that.
I like that better. I'm,
But is there gonna be a permanent change, or just while we lose one of our case managers?
I would ask that you'd make it a permanent change until the end of the year, and then we come back and visit this plan again to see if you're, I have to go back and see if they'll accept the positions too. This is just my proposal to try to get us through this bump with staffing. If you look at, like John, where he has a position, it's 1.5. You hire 1.5 for one position or whatever it is, well, I got no extra. I got no fluff here. 2.5?
I want you to keep, I don't want to go backward. I don't want to, so I'm good with whatever would work so that you're covered.
You guys tell me what we can do, and we'll,
Well, you go talk to your people and see if they're interested in doing that, and we'll talk to our people.
Our people will get with your people and we'll,
okay, so if I'm understanding this right, it would
Yeah, I
be,
just wanna kinda go through this again, So Mary Ann,
So let me try. I'm gonna take your administrative assistant and move it to Randy Cole's position, which is part-time pretrial relief person.
Correct.
So you're going to eliminate that part-time position, take those funds and move it to full-time so that Randy can move into a new full-time position. I don't
Okay.
know that her funds would cover the total amount. I haven't seen any numbers on paper, but that would be what he's talking about.
okay, but if Butch is gone, we're gonna have to have somebody filling in for him. And it's either gonna be overtime or hiring somebody part-time to do it. So either way, we're gonna have to come up with some funds, whether we do it this way. So if they're willing to do it that way, I think it sounds like a good compromise and kinda keeps you going.
Right.
But are you making that a permanent change at this point?
I'm good with making it a permanent
Yeah.
change.
Basically, the only thing we're not doing is we're not adding a new employee right now, but we're doing what you were asking us to do in the first place, so.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
see if they're amenable to it. You
Yeah.
got two saying yes and a maybe, so. You're permanent to the end of the year. You find a fork in that and then, decide it. But we're not gonna be able to take them backwards, so. Does that give you enough guidance?
I believe so. I believe what I'm hearing is, I can offer the position to Mary Ann for 18, the part-time. Randy will stay at the $20 an hour, is that correct?
Yeah.
Until the end of the year, and then we'll look at renegotiating their salaries at that time for the additional.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that what I got?
Yep.
Okay, all right,
So-
Yep.
yes, sir.
All right.
Thanks, Richard.
Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate you guys.
Okay. I think our closed session is outside. Bill, you want to give us an update?
Any other issues?
Yeah, I'm not going to ask for any other issues. I was going to
I
let.
sure can do that.
Yep.
So as I sent the email out yesterday, you saw that Cole County did get included into the individual assistance presidential declaration. So that means that people, as you saw in the news even today, that they can go online and start registering. That will help them a whole lot when FEMA gets here and opens up their disaster resource center. They'll already have that information. They can pull that file, and that's gonna make their, whatever can be done, move a lot faster than coming in and just sitting, talking to somebody and doing it right there. So that's what we're really gonna try to push.
So, on that online stuff, will it have exactly what they need to bring with them and whether they need to get estimates or any of that stuff on?
You know, a lot of that, I think it does. I'm gonna get on there myself and look,
Okay.
but, it's gonna ask for a lot of that, and we've really been pushing that word since day one, document everything.
Okay.
Receipts, photographs.
Okay.
It's kinda like, for instance, in 2011, when we had the major snowstorm, if we wouldn't have had all the photographs with Public Works taking all of theirs and a lot of the other, by the time FEMA showed up, it was 80 degrees outside and nice and dry. So they didn't see what we saw back then. So that's why it's so important to do that. So
Who does this actually help? I mean, this is individual systems.
individual, this is
not-
residential
so,
business.
I mean, is it for people that didn't have insurance or?
It doesn't matter. I mean, if they had insurance, they may look at that, and it might be, if you get $1,000 deductible, that may be all they can try to give you back is your deductible.
Oh, so they might help them with their. deductible.
Sure,
Okay.
yeah,
I was
and
trying
of
to
course,
figure out why they're filling in for the
SBA, Small Business Association
If
comes,
I can go and apply for individual assistance and my house gets blown away, then I'm just gonna cancel my insurance.
well, it's not guaranteeing you're gonna get everything back though. Not my rule, Jeff, trust me. But anyway, that was the
I'm
first
not
thing.
canceling my insurance anyway.
No, don't.
So
Those,
is this only the individual assistance portion? This wasn't
yes,
the public assistance?
that's not the
yet?
public assistance, we're still waiting on that.
If we do get the declaration for public assistance, though, we only have 30 days to submit all that documentation, is that correct?
It's 60 days on IA, it might be 30, I'm not for sure, I really
Okay,
can't tell
so
you.
we need to make sure that all of our departments have all of their stuff
All their
together,
stuff.
so that if that
John's got his,
declaration-
Public Works has got all theirs, EMS should have whatever they're gonna have to have. So I think, and that's gonna move pretty fast, I think the PA probably just around the corner from what I'm hearing. There's not putting it out. I was notified yesterday, so I kind of put the word out, and they want to kind of keep it quiet until the governor, so he did his release yesterday, so that made it more public. So right now, we're still working with our points of distribution center, which is out of Capital City West Church Event Center. That need, we're just not getting the people coming out there. So last week we had a meeting with Pastor Ken. They've advised us that they need that portion of the building back by the 1st of August to start all their early school fall programs with schools. So we're starting the D-Mode project. We're now, Ann Bax and several of us has met with other agencies in the city and county that's kind of doing this. Quinn Chapel, Samaritan Center, Salvation Army, and Building Bridges community. So this is something that we can start moving some of those we call consumables, the diapers, the hygiene products, a lot of this stuff that people use every day. We're going to start moving that out to these other pods, more centrally located, and kind of start moving that warehouse down to where the other warehouse will just be restocking that. We have 4 tractor trailer loads now of very expensive beds, mattresses, picture frames, microwaves, a lot of stuff like that. We call that durable goods. So as people are getting into rental homes or apartments and they need bedding or some of this other durable goods, as long as they go through the 211 system, that's brought down to the Catholic Charities. They have caseworkers that literally work with those people one-on-one and see what their needs are. So that will be starting, that's kind of our long-term recovery. So, yeah, a lot of meetings with people like this. Capital Event West, the event center has just been outstanding, giving us that whole complex. So there's kind of 3 portions. There's the front event center that you see right there along the Country Club or County Park Road. Then there's a big back warehouse with the docks where we use our forklifts and stuff. Then there's another huge warehouse in the very back. So it's just that front portion that we've got to kind of move out and get back. And the Advent folks are working that every day. So that portion's going real good. But when you got these people, some of these people from Illinois, Indiana, when they're sitting there all day long and 2 people's coming in, we're just seeing that we need to really start pushing that back to these other pods so people can get what they need in local areas. And that's pretty common. And talking to these people that've done this for years, Jeff City is just helping so many people. They're just not coming out and getting what they need. And he said, that's very remarkable. These folks ran the warehouse in Joplin for 3 years. This is the Seventh-day Adventist group that does this across the United States. So very, very helpful. So that's kind of where we're at. We're still moving along. Catholic Charities just doing a tremendous job with that. That's actually under the Knights of Columbus. I didn't realize that, but a great group of people. And they go to all the federal classes, so they know all the FEMA documents, exactly how to do all that. And so FEMA comes back in later and wants to audit some of that. It's all done by their documents. So I think we're very fortunate. The community is still coming together very strong. And that's about all I've got right now, unless there's any other questions.
So obviously, I was on the radio this morning and Austin was asking about earthquake. So.
Oh, yeah, he asked me yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
so anyway, I'm sure that there's a plan in place, but
Sure.
That's kind of in everybody's minds with the recent earthquakes in California, and so.
Yeah, and we talked about that yesterday. So in all the training I've taken, and every year the state does an earthquake. In fact, they just finished it first week in June. They were literally down there and did a 8-state exercise. So we're more from the seismic zone folks. We're more of what's called reception and care. So they're figuring more of evacuees are going to come to this area. 3 years ago, they used the state fairgrounds and had like 2,000 volunteers are really deployed in there. How are we going to house them? How are we going to cook for them and feed them? Because they've been affected by the earthquake in New Madrid. Cole County, Osage, and a lot of our areas is gonna be called reception care, so we may get 300 people we need to shelter. Get a shelter open for them as they transition going maybe somewhere else. So we literally took Lynn State Tech 2 years ago, and that's called a respite center. So as people coming up, we know 55, 70 is probably gonna be damaged with a lot of bridges out. So the state figures their route is gonna be 50 highway through Jet City, going to Sedalia to this larger care center. So we set up a respite center. We worked on that all summer. We did actually boots on the ground exercise. So people coming into the service station, they're gonna get 5 gallons of gas, they're gonna get to take their bathroom breaks, get a sandwich, and then transition on to the state fair. So that's kind of the policy SEMA set up. So every year we worked on that. A few years ago, we were in Columbia, and with the 8 states, we had 4 different military groups there. It's a pretty big deal, but that's what they kind of tell us, that more of that zone will probably go up the Mississippi River instead of the Missouri River, and they're feeling we'd be more of a reception care. So those plans are in place.
So we wouldn't really be affected by a
They don't
big-
think so.
Big earthquake in New Mexico.
They don't think so, but if you see, I mean, we're just kind of on that line. It could go, we don't know.
Okay.
I don't think nobody really does.
Bagnell Dam is affected, and, I mean,
If it does, yeah, it could be real catastrophic for us
Yeah.
with Bagnell Dam. But there again, we do their exercises every 2 years. 3 different exercises we do with Bagnell Dam and Truman. You know, if the dam literally broke, what would happen right here? So within so many hours, we'd be pretty well wiped out if you look at if the dam did break. I mean, they show the backflow of the water going clear up past Fulton, just on the Missouri River from all the water coming this way. And you look at all the boats, boat docks, and within 30 minutes it'd take out to Tuscumbia. That's just how quick it moves. So they've done a lot of that stuff, computerized stuff. So it's pretty interesting to set it on. Hope it never happens, of course, but a lot of thought goes into that. So
Okay.
that's it.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, good job, Bill.
Thank you.
Anything else? I got some correspondence. Got this July 2nd, Missouri Department of Natural Resources, stormwater letter of commitment. Missouri Department of Natural Resources pleased to offer funds for stormwater loans and grants to first-class counties, entitlement cities, metropolitan St. Louis sewer district. So I don't know if that's something we do or not, Larry, but
We've looked at it.
there's all this stuff. So I just thought, well, I'll do that then. I got a letter from Department of Agriculture, Department of Ag Land Survey Program, pleased to offer the cost-sharing effort for perpetuating corners of the United States Public Land Survey System, known as the County Surveyor Cooperative. Anyway,
Junk mail.
Yeah.
Throw it away.
okay. Got an invitation from Three Rivers Electric. Did you get the? Okay. So, okay, party time. That's all I got.
I'm gonna go back to Bill real quick, because Bill, you had emailed about the disaster relief center for FEMA and looking at possibly doing over at the emergency
Yes.
services building. I'm fine with that if, throw it on there.
You know,
Throw it in
kind of
there.
looking at that one, I mean, they call like July 3rd, we're ready to do something Friday. It ain't gonna happen with our 4th of July and all the stuff going on. And you know, just looking at a place, SEMA asked me, so they do have like a mobile trailer. I spoke to them yesterday. That's very small. We could even set it on the back lot. It's all self-contained. But I was just thinking of this, you know, our emergency services building, the need for that, it would just work perfect. People come in there, they're in the air conditioning, they could sit in the large room as they get their turn to go in. There's 2 empty offices there. I just think it'd be great for the community to be able to have that nice facility for them. And everything's already there, the phone lines, Wi-Fi is there, so that was just my thought.
Yeah, I'm good with it. I mean, maybe Schulte's would even allow us to put a sign up there and then some good signage there, so direct people to the right location.
Maybe time to have
Yeah.
that Smart 911 app stuff too.
Yeah.
Sure, yep.
Yeah, we have the big mobile little
Yeah.
quick message for
Oh,
them.
yeah.
Sure.
Yeah,
That was last year, so, yeah.
Good idea, Larry.
Yep,
If
Yeah.
Larry's not using one.
Well, that's what we do all this stuff for, so we got it when it happens.
that's
Yeah.
right.
So they thought, just talking to him, they thought, boy, that would be really, probably nicer, they're gonna have a lot of county, so.
Yeah,
If y'all all approved, I'll push forward with that.
I think that's good.
Yeah, I'm good.
Get them to get all the stuff out of their office.
Anything else?
All right, I move we go into closed session pursuant to section 610.021 of the revised statutes of Missouri for existing or proposed security systems, sub 19.
Second.
Roll call?
Sam?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Carrie,
Hey, Larry, can I get a
you
copy
could,
of that?
you could
Unless you don't mind.
stay if you want.
Okay.
Yeah.